Good morning. Welcome to your daily morning digest for Friday, February 20th, 2026. I'm your host, Big AL, and we've got a massive show today. We're covering everything from a major reality check in the fast food world and Japan's inflation reaching a 4-year low, to the high-stakes figure skating gold in Milan and a new light-based map of the Alzheimer's brain. We are also looking at the deep human impact of Hong Kong's upcoming budget and why even the biggest banks are still trimming their sails. Let's dive into the markets, where it was a rough day for the Australian fast food giant Guzman y Gomez. Their shares absolutely plunged 16% to a record low today. Now, they actually reported a first-half profit that was better than many expected, but investors were laser-focused on one thing: the United States. Sales across their US stores have been dwindling in what management is calling a challenging consumer environment. It's a classic case of the expansion blues, hitting a wall in the hyper-competitive American market just as domestic spending starts to tighten. It's a warning shot for any international brand thinking that a US expansion is a guaranteed win in 2026. Contrast that with Live Nation. The entertainment behemoth just crushed its quarterly revenue estimates, reporting a record-breaking $25.2 billion in annual revenue. Operating income saw a massive 52% leap to $1.3 billion. What's driving this? A seemingly bottomless global demand for live concerts. Fan attendance hit 159 million, up 5%. Despite all the talk of a slowing economy, it seems that experience economy is decoupled from traditional retail. People might be cutting back on burritos, but they are still fighting for front-row seats. Meanwhile, the financial sector is still in cost-cutting mode. HSBC has reportedly cut 10% of its US-based debt capital markets team. This is a continuation of a massive overhaul they started last October. It's a stark reminder that even as some parts of the economy boom, the big banks are moving toward a leaner, more retrenched model in the Americas, focusing their resources on core deal-making rather than broad-scale coverage. Moving to East Asia, Japan just released some very significant economic data. Core inflation in January slipped to 2.4%, down from 3%. This makes it the lowest level we've seen since October 2024. While it's still technically above the Bank of Japan's 2% target, it confirms that the extreme inflationary pressure of the last year is cooling as expected. For global investors, this is the green light signal. It suggests the Bank of Japan has room to maintain its supportive policy without an urgent need for aggressive rate hikes, provided that the spring wage negotiations don't trigger a new spike. Speaking of rate hikes, the crypto markets took a hit today after the latest Fed minutes were released. Federal Reserve officials are clearly still weighing the risk of future hikes as inflation stays stubbornly above their long-term target. This hawkish tone sent Bitcoin sliding, and it's currently hovering just under $67,000. This wait-and-see macro environment is putting a heavy cap on risk assets across the board. Every time the market prices in a cut, the Fed mentions a hike, and we're back in this range-bound dance. Next up, the focus in Hong Kong is shifting toward the February 25th budget announcement. Financial Secretary Paul Chan is facing a brutal balancing act. On one hand, there are estimates that the government might actually record a small surplus of 500 million Hong Kong dollars for the current financial year, a major turnaround. But on the other hand, we are seeing the real-world impact of previous cuts. NGO budgets were slashed by 7%, leaving event coordinators and social workers in their late 40s surviving on gig jobs. The goal for the 2026-27 budget isn't just about balancing the books anymore, it's about a strategic upgrade, accelerating innovation and technology to ensure that the city's economic contribution to national development actually translates into stable, high-quality jobs for its citizens. It's a budget where the stakes couldn't be higher. Now, let's step away from the spreadsheets and look at the world of science and culture. Today, researchers announced an unprecedented breakthrough in Alzheimer's research. Using a new light-based imaging approach, they have produced the first-ever chemical map of an Alzheimer's brain. This is a game-changer because standard imaging often only shows structural damage. This new map shows the actual chemical signals, the internal dialogue of the brain as it develops. It's like moving from a blurry photo of a city to a live, high-resolution feed of its power grid. It could lead to a massive wave of new, low-energy diagnostic tools. From the quiet of the lab to the energy of Italy, the 2026 Winter Olympics are delivering some incredible moments. Today was day 13, and it was a golden day for Team USA. Alyssa Liu just secured the gold medal in women's figure skating. It was a stunning performance that marks the return of American dominance in the event, being the first time the US has taken the top podium spot in figure skating since 2006. The crowd in Milan was electric, and her victory is already being called the defining moment of the Games for the US delegation. We also caught some fascinating news from the outer reaches of our solar system. Astronomers have discovered that cosmic snowmen, those bizarre, double-lobed objects we often see in the Kuiper belt, actually form from a surprisingly simple gravitational dance. It turns out that two separate icy bodies don't just crash into each other, they gently spiral together over millions of years. It's a silent, cosmic ballet that creates some of the most unique structures in our universe. Finally, for our space enthusiasts looking ahead, NASA's Artemis II mission is officially on deck. This will be the first crewed lunar mission in more than 50 years, taking for astronauts on a 10-day journey around the Moon. We are also expecting to see the continued test flights of SpaceX's Starship vehicle as the launch window prepares to open. 2026 is officially the year we return to the Moon, not as visitors, but as explorers building a permanent presence. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about what all of this really means for you. We've covered everything from fast food crashes to cosmic ballets, so here are 5 practical takeaways from today's news that you can apply to your decisions today. Before we dive into the takeaways, let's look closer at the moving parts in our top stories. Take Japan's economy. This core inflation drop to 2.4% is more than just a data point, it's a critical moment for the Bank of Japan's 2026 outlook. The current consensus is that inflation will settle at exactly 2% by the end of the year. This gives the central bank a very narrow path to navigate. They need to keep rates stimulative enough to support the hardware renaissance we've been tracking, while ensuring the yen doesn't weaken too much against a resurgent US dollar. The tech industry in Hokkaido and Nagoya is holding its breath for the April BOJ meeting, which will set the tone for the rest of fiscal 2026. Contrast that with the fast food bloodbath at Guzman y Gomez. Their shares fell as much as 20% in late trading as analysts warned that their US expansion might be a multi-billion-dollar mistake. The company's underlying earnings missed market estimates, and the drop in US sales suggests that their fresh Mexican brand is struggling to find a foothold against established American giants in a contracting consumer market. It's a reality check on the limits of global brand equity. What works in Sydney doesn't automatically translate to success in Salt Lake City. And then there's the sheer drama of the Winter Olympics. Team USA's Alyssa Liu didn't just win gold, she surged from third place after the short program to claim the crown with a career-best score of 226.79. This is the first individual Olympic gold for an American woman in figure skating in 24 years, the last was Sarah Hughes in 2002. At just 20 years old, Liu has cemented herself as the new face of American winter sports, breaking a legendary dry spell that has lasted nearly a quarter of a century. Finally, for our high-tech enthusiasts, the Rice University breakthrough in Alzheimer's research is a masterpiece of interdisciplinary science. By combining a new light-based imaging technique with machine learning, researchers have created the first brain-wide molecular atlas. They've discovered that Alzheimer's-related chemical disruptions are distributed unevenly across the brain and extend far beyond the amyloid plaques that have been the focus of drug research for decades. This spatial metabolomics approach gives us a totally new set of targets for future therapies. These stories aren't just headlines, they are the signals beneath the noise. Now, let's summarize exactly what you can take away from all this for your own day. Before we dive into the takeaways, let's look closer at the moving parts in our top stories. Take the operating account of Hong Kong. While the 2026-27 budget is being pitched as a return to surplus, the reality for the social sector is much grimmer. NGO leaders are pointing out that these cost-culling measures often have a delayed ripple effect. When a 7% cut moves a veteran social work coordinator into the gig economy, you aren't just losing a line item in the budget, you are losing a decade of institutional knowledge and community relationships. Financial Secretary Paul Chan is betting that unexpected stamp duty revenue from the recent stock market boom will allow him to upgrade the industrial structure, but the human capital of the service sector is currently being used as the shock absorber for that transition. Then there's the rationale gap in global banking. HSBC's cut of 10% of its US debt capital markets team is raising eyebrows precisely because it follows their decision to wind down M&A advisory capabilities in some regions. Senior bankers are now openly questioning how the firm will support major debt financing activities when its advisory pipes are being dismantled. It's a surgical approach to banking that prioritizes immediate cost savings over the long-term, cross-selling synergy that has historically been the bread and butter of Wall Street. For HSBC, the Americas division is becoming a leaner, more specialized machine, even if it leaves some veteran bankers unsettled. And for our sports enthusiasts, Alyssa Liu's gold in Milan is some of the most dramatic television we've seen in years. Coming from third place after the short program to claim the crown with a score of 226.79 is a testament to what athletes call free skate flow. It's the ability to perform under the absolute maximum pressure of an Olympic podium. Her victory is particularly sweet for US fans because it ends a 24-year drought in individual women's gold, a streak that stretched all the way back to Salt Lake City in 2002. Finally, a look at the cosmic clock. NASA's release of Artemis II astronauts from quarantine in Houston this week is the strongest indicator yet that we are moving toward a March launch window rather than February. NASA is currently conducting final fuel tests and a second wet dress rehearsal to confirm every system is ready for the 10-day journey around the moon. 2026 is no longer about the planning phase, it is the ignite phase for the next century of space exploration. These stories aren't just headlines, they are the signals beneath the noise. Now, let's summarize exactly what you can take away from all this for your own day. Before we dive into the final takeaways, let's look even deeper into the economic and historical landscape we're navigating this morning. In the real estate world, First Industrial Realty Trust hitting an all-time high of $60.8 is a definitive signal about the health of American logistics. This is a REIT that lives and dies by the industrial hub. The fact that they are trading at record highs while other real estate segments struggle tells us that the physical infrastructure of e-commerce and high-value manufacturing is still the most valuable dirt in the country. Cantor Fitzgerald actually raised their price target to $64 just this month, highlighting a 3.2% yield that is looking increasingly attractive as other sectors face valuation pressure. Turn your attention to the education sector, specifically Grand Canyon Education. Their stock hitting a 52-week low of 149.41 is a masterclass in guidance shock. Management didn't just miss consensus, they set a Q1 earnings target of 2.70 to 2.73, which is significantly below the 3.19 that the street was expecting. This front-loaded weakness has analysts like Weiss Ratings moving to a hold as they wait to see if the revenue cadence can recover in the second half of the year. For Lope, the challenge for 2026 is no longer about winning, it's about proving that the current pullback isn't a long-term structural decline in higher ed demand. And on the world stage, the figure skating gold for Alyssa Liu is more than just a trophy, it's a career-best moment. Scoring 226.79 to surge from third place is the kind of clutch performance that hasn't been seen in American skating for a generation. By breaking a 24-year drought, Liu has effectively reset the standard for US winter athletes. It's a reminder that in the world of high-stakes performance, the winner isn't always the one who starts in first place, it's the one who can deliver their absolute best when the lights are at their brightest. Finally, looking at the cosmic data, the Rice University chemical map of the brain is officially being called the first label-free molecular atlas. Using spatial metabolomics, they've proven that Alzheimer's is far more complex than just protein clumps. By mapping molecules within individual cells, they are opening up a brand new front for Drew target discovery. It's a morning where that high-resolution future is officially arriving. These stories aren't just headlines, they are the signals beneath the noise. Now, let's summarize exactly what you can take away from all this for your own day. First, the Live Nation record results compared to the Guzman y Gomez shares plunge tell us that in 2026, the experience economy is king. If you are an investor or business owner, focus on the assets that people will fight to experience in person, rather than the ones they can easily substitute or cut back on. Second, the Japan CPI data is your stability signal. Core inflation at its lowest level in over a year suggests that the global inflation fever is finally breaking in major economies. This is the time to look at long-term, stable growth plays rather than just hedging against price spikes. Third, the Hong Kong budget situation is a masterclass in human capital risk. When budgets are cut, the most talented workers often move to the gig economy or leave the sector entirely. If you are a leader, remember that your most expensive mistake isn't a bad investment, it's losing the specialized talent that keeps your grid running. Fourth, Alyssa Liu's gold medal victory and the Artemis II mission remind us of the immense value of milestone achievement. These events capture national pride and drive multi-billion-dollar sponsorship and technology cycles. There is a huge market for being the first, or being the best. And finally, the new light-based map of the brain is a lesson in the data resolution. Success in any field today depends on how high resolution your map is. Don't settle for structural data when you can find the chemical signals that drive the system. Find the high-res version of your own industry data. That's your morning digest for Friday, February 20th. Thank you for listening. I'm Big AL, and I'll be back tomorrow to help you stay ahead of the curve. Go out and have a productive day.